Hello, everyone, and welcome to Breaking Free from Owner Dependency. I am Susan Fenema, the Chaos Eradicating Officer, that's CEO of Beyond the Chaos. And I have with me today Joe Scarpetta of the Scarpetta Group. Joe, thank you so much for joining me.
Welcome. Hello, everyone.
So, we're going to do quick little backgrounds, introduce ourselves a little bit, and then we'll get into the meat of this. So, Beyond the Chaos helps small business owners get out of the day to day of their business operations. We do that by providing end to end fractional operations support based on technology, process, and people. So, we dig into that with you and help you as the owner get your life back, which is actually what we did with Joe several years ago. So, Joe, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about the Scarpetta Group as well.
Well, my name is Joe Scarpetta. I'm the owner of the Scarpetta Group. We're based in South Carolina. We're a team of software developers focusing on a core product, FileMaker Pro, and we build custom software for multiple industries. Um,
Awesome. So, Joe, let's set the stage. We started working together, man, probably back in 2017. It's been a long time. We've known each other longer than that. But what was life like in your business for you before you started working on your business's owner dependence?
wow. See, it's easy to see it now, but looking back, when as typical with every owner, is you're doing everything. No one will make a decision. Everyone comes to you with every little thing, and it's a lot of work on top of what you normally try to do. So it's the constant interruptions. You can't focus. You're constantly like herding cats, for lack of better. Um,
Were there any challenges that you faced, like that affected you personally? Were you burnt out? Relationships that were challenged, or even just having a life? How personally did you feel about that?
I think for me it was more burnout than anything, and you experience that right alongside me, more often than not. It's just that there's just no more time in a day, and even at that point when we started this, I had made family a big priority, but there was still I go home and have dinner, and then I go back to the office.
Yeah.
So it was a lot.
I think a lot of people suffer through that, like you too, and they kind of want to throw up their hands and just say, I want to be done. I just want to sell it. I just don't want to be in it anymore. And
Mhm.
I know you had some feelings like that, but I feel like you've also worked through those. How are you feeling in that front as far as the focus on your business now?
The focus has shifted quite a bit. I mean, yeah, there were definitely days. Any owner who says they haven't wanted to throw their hands in the air and say I'm done, is not on board with how they're really feeling. But it's way different today. I mean, we're doing things today. Actually, this week we're actually doing company planning and working on traction and going through the EOS process. So we're in a completely different place now, with management changes and stuff within the company. So it's really made a difference.
So, back when you reached out to us, way back when, was there a specific moment that was kind of the wake up call where you just realized, I just can't keep running my business like this?
I think, if I remember correctly, we were doing project management together, and
Mhm.
I think that's what led into a lot of this, where it was like there was a day that I think you need to document your processes. This is too hard because you didn't even know what the expectations were for some things. I knew everything was all in my head, and I think that's where this really got started. Is we started going through the process documentation part, and that really started to shift things, because then once that was done, it was easy for me to say, oh, here's your role, here's your job description.
Uh-oh, Joe, you froze up a little bit, so I'm going to hope that you're going to come back.
And that's, uh-oh,
Okay,
did we
wait,
get,
I can hear you. There you are. You're back. Okay.
oh, my terrible internet since the hurricane here. It won't happen often. But there's, the process documentation was really the biggest piece that really kind of brought me around to seeing, and I know there are parts of that I'm not doing this stuff. Like it really led to, oh no.
It's okay. You're back.
Those
You're back.
are those are the things that really led to, wanting to move further forward with us. And I could then assign things. I could delegate because, well, here, go do this. This is how to do it.
Did you, even before that, so I know a lot of business owners get into but it has to be me. I have to do all of it. How do I even know that there's help out there for me? Uh, Is there help out there for me? Did you go through anything like that to be able to come around to saying, oh, let's see if there is somebody that can help me get a handle on this?
Um, no, I think it was just in our conversations and seeing what your company was able to do for us in general. And I think it's helped you grow then as well. I'm probably a case study for you.
You are.
But but through those processes and those things that all the stuff we did with that really made a difference and an impact for me, and seeing where things shifted, where it's like you
I'm going to give him a second to come
were
back.
able to better manage. Oh no, I don't know what to
It's
do.
just every few minutes. It's okay. So go
Um,
ahead, finish that thought.
so it's just the stuff that we did together. We were able to work through, and I was able to see better, and then I was able to. You had a clearer vision of what we could do, and then that's when we started to figure out even together. It's like, you know what, you get a VA to do that. You can get, let's give that task to this person, or let's start to pull these things apart. And we really were able to start to organize things and make it better.
So fast forward a few years to where things started to feel a little bit cleaner. What did it actually look like when you were able to start stepping back from things? Did it feel messy? Did it hurt a little even maybe? Or how did that feel emotionally?
It was weird because it was like, you're giving up control in some ways, in a lot of ways. And I've given up a lot of control now that I've, taken on Beth as managing director. I've given up a lot.
Yeah.
But it's once you realize how freeing it is, it's like you just feel this big relief that I don't have to decide that thing anymore. I don't have to worry about it. I'll never have to think about that again if the person's doing their job. And then you just can't worry about if they're doing their job. They just need to do the job. But it's really been freeing. I mean, I know I don't have to be sitting here at 8 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out who's doing what for the day. Someone else has handled that for me. I don't have to be in the stand-up meetings Monday, Wednesday, and Friday unless I choose to show up or someone asks me to be there. If I want to take, like what we'll get to further, if I want to take a vacation, I can tune out. So it's really made a big impact as far as quality of life and work-life balance.
So I know you're talking about Beth. She's fantastic. Very, very skilled at the operation side, and she's a good software developer too.
Yeah.
I know that being able to trust somebody takes a little bit of time, but letting go of that control, I find, at least in my business, I find that the more control I let go of, the more addicted I get to of letting more things go.
Yes.
Have you felt that way too?
Yes. Yes. I mean, even with, James is tech lead now. So seeing how things are starting to transition more, even in the beginning of this year, it's like, oh, I can let that little piece go. So, I mean, my job description keeps getting smaller and smaller. And, I'm loving that because then I can focus on the things that I want to do and when I want to do them. I'm not holding the company back from growing anymore.
That is a big thing. I think that most people don't realize is that the owner can get in the way,
Yes.
right? You are the bottleneck in a lot of ways. You are the decision maker. So everybody has to come to you. And when that happens, that stress is what gets you burnt out in
Yes.
the first place. Were there any specific changes that you implemented that really surprised you with how big of an impact they made?
I think we're starting to see the biggest changes now. So if we're talking like currently, the
Yeah.
biggest changes is it was implementing the EO system with traction. Is that we sat down in December, we got started. We had started this a year or so ago, put it off, but we had enough foundation. We were able to start picking up in December and really get into it this year, and hit the ground running with, you know, here's the metrics we need to track. And we're having those L10s every week, and we're going through that now, and everybody's on board with it. And everybody's sitting there going, well, how do we hit that metric? We're behind. Why did we miss that metric? So now we're having different conversations, but the whole team's engaged. So it's really making a big difference as far as, where we're going to be at the end of the year. Um,
That is such a difference from no one even knowing what the scope of the existing project is from years ago.
right. Yeah,
What
exactly.
I mean, what a amazing transformation. For those of you who don't know, he's talking about EOS, and the book Traction. I actually believe in it so much I have it right here on my desk. I don't think I can focus it, but it's by Gino Wickman, and it is the entrepreneurial operating system. Essentially, you can set it up in your business, but one of the reasons we don't start with it at Beyond the Chaos is because most of the business owners we're working with don't have a leadership team in place. And you do need others in the business to put that in place. And Joe, over the years, has built that leadership team within his company. And now he's in a position where he can start to build on that base that we set up for him and take that structure even further to help get him out of the day to day. So now you just get the big decisions and the setting the tone of the company essentially, and not all the little stuff.
Right.
So tell me, what's life like now that you've really pulled yourself out of the day to day? Kind of paint us a picture of what that looks like.
It's just so much simpler. I'm still doing some development because I love it, but it's stuff I get to do by choice. And it's not on a schedule. So I'm trying to really get more product focused on Jarvis or CRM, as opposed to, in the day to day on the projects that are, ongoing. So I'm still involved in projects to a small degree, where I'm more of the consultant side of it, where I'm leading the team and doing some of the ideas and stuff like that. And they're more of like smaller type things where I'm not going to be the bottleneck, but I still need to be the face of the company. But it's by choice. I'm not sitting there saying I have to do this. Somebody else could do it, but it's because I love that part, and I'm not ready to give that up completely yet. I'm still scoping projects and in planning. So my primary focus now is sales, marketing, the financial side. I'm not ready to give up the financials yet. And the visionary side then, with new products, new ventures, and things like that.
But isn't it cool to kind of see where that path can go? Where you're like, okay, well, maybe next step is sales, and then maybe the next step is the marketing, and then
Right, right.
maybe
So
I never give up the finance until I'm ready to sell. You just don't ever know.
right,
Sell, or, there's so many ways to exit. And that's
right,
not even what we're talking about here. But I can tell you that long term, if your business is dependent on the owner, it is not sellable. No, nobody wants to buy that job, right?
correct. Yeah, right. You've got an expensive job, is what Tony Robbins has said. Um, but one of the things with that is, I lost the thought now.
You said
I
something about Tony Robbins.
Yeah, so I said that, yeah. So Tony Robb, but I just went through a program with the Small Business Administration called Thrive, and it was just, you know, I learned a lot in the process with that, and it was 6 months of reading online classes, in-person classes, and so on. And it was a lot of it for me became a lot of affirmation about what we were doing with the business, which was great. But there were still nuggets. No matter how much you go and study about business and work with other business owners, you always learn something, and you learn how to be better at what you do. And one of the things we did out of that was, as part of the cohort, we had to do a presentation at the end of our 3-year plan. And my 3-year plan is that I am free from the company in 3 years, except for if I choose to be part of it, that it's not dependent on me. I can still be working, but it won't be dependent on me in 2028.
I think
Um,
it's really cool too that you were talking about being able to continue to do the thing that made you kind of start your business in the first place, right? You're
right.
you're a great software developer, and I think so many business owners relate to that. They're a great writer, or they're a great designer, or they're great at whatever their, so-called trade is.
Mhm.
And then they lose even the opportunity to be able to do that, or at least stop enjoying it as they're going along. And it's nice to hear that you've been able to make it back around to enjoy that again.
Yes. Well, it's something I don't want to. You don't want to lose that skill,
Yeah.
And as I get older now, I want to keep working. I'm not someone who can sit still. I drive people nuts because I can't sit still. So it will give me something to continually do, as well as to get into to other businesses, things like that as well.
That's very cool. And Nick, I do see your question. I'm going to come to that here in a few minutes. We're going to wrap this up with a few last questions here. Um, Joe, what's one result or a milestone that really made you say, wow, this is working?
Let's see, 2 years ago, and you helped a little bit with this. Well, a lot of it to get me there, but I took a 3-week vacation and flew halfway across the world to the Maldives and turned my phone off, and that was it. I got one text from one of your staff just because of COVID requirements. And it didn't pertain to us, but that was the only communication in 3 weeks of sitting on a beach, which I thought I would get bored. But when you read and sit on a beautiful beach every day in a lagoon, um, it's becomes addictive. Um,
I
so
remember that very well because I remember my team member actually changing the password to your email so you couldn't get in it.
not getting it at all. So I was completely out. I mean, yeah, right. I mean, that was the first time I gave up the finance part. I mean, she ran payroll. I mean, it
Yeah.
was out. Um, and it was a great reset for me at that point too, because it'd been really hard years to get up to that point.
Yes.
Um, and to be able to do things like that and have time with my wife like that is valuable.
And you come back so refreshed and energized and ready to jump in because you're ready to go back to work by that time.
Well, at that point too, you've experienced different cultures. You've swam with sharks, reef sharks, not big scary sharks. Reef sharks. You've experienced all these different things. You get a different view of the world then too. So I mean, it really changes how you think about things as you approach new things as you go forward.
So if someone's listening and they feel completely stuck, do you have a suggestion of, one small first step they can take to start moving down the path towards the freedom, the owner independence?
Probably a couple. I mean, if the processes aren't documented, get them documented. Get that off your plate because a business without documented processes has no value. Um, I know Tom would say that as well.
Preach.
Um, but I would really then look for what is that one thing that's holding you back. I mean, it's hard to let go, but once you start to let go, you feel that freedom. But find that one thing that's like, if I could stop doing this, in programming for me, it's reports. It's like, don't make me write a report; it'll never get done. But find that one thing that you can do to delegate and get it off your plate, so you can feel that freedom. But you've got to. But going back to the break, you've got to find time for the self care because if you don't take care of yourself, you're no good to anybody. You've got to get enough sleep. You've got to eat right, and you've got to take a break. Even if your break is walk out your front door, walk the quarter mile down to the street, and walk back, and just listen to nature, and get back to work. You got to do the self care.
I think that that's something that owners often don't think about is that they are no good to anyone if they are not healthy and if they are, you know, spiritually defunct too. Whatever you're doing for your mental, spiritual health, that's important too. So I love that you've gotten that back in your life too. Looking back, is there anything you wish you had done sooner or differently?
All of it, I wish I would have done sooner. um,
Definitely freeing.
Definitely, differently. No, I can think of different things I would have done in the business, but not about this process. Um,
Okay.
uh,
Great.
yeah,
So, I should also let everyone know that Joe and I have had such a great experience and partnership working together that we're actually writing a book together on this very subject. So,
yeah,
we're thinking what, maybe spring, early summer, it'll probably come out.
around there. Yeah, somewhere in the first half of the year.
So we're looking forward to having that come out
Yeah,
too. So let me jump in. We do have some questions over here. So there might be some ways that we can tag team these a little bit. So next question is, I've heard of EOS, and so is Beyond the Chaos like EOS, but for smaller companies? Yes and no. What we find when we first start working with owners is that they're so ingrained in the day to day and the details that they can't think big picture about their business, which is how EOS starts. EOS wants you to start thinking big picture and vision and mission and do I have the right people in the right seats? So I think that we are able to come in and help free the owner up so that they can think bigger picture with EOS. EOS also is it is a theory or a process that you follow to establish leadership in your business. Many of the small business owners we're working with don't have other leaders in their company yet. And usually EOS is the guide. The owner still has to do it by themselves. The team still has to do the work. And Beyond the Chaos actually will come in and do the work for you. So we will write your processes. We will set up your software that you've chosen. We will stand there and say to owners like Joe, you have to stop doing that. Try this instead. Whereas with EOS, it's more owner and leadership team driven to get there. Although they do have implementer coaches that can help, but those cost a lot of money too. So Joe, you're self-implementing EOS,
we're
right?
self-implementing. We're using some online tools that you can use with the process, but it's been fairly straightforward at this point because of the way we've approached it.
If you focus on it and approach it in a straightforward manner, you can self-implement, and there are a lot of self-implementers out there. Just follow the book Traction, Gino Whitman. All right, next question. How do you measure success in becoming less owner dependent? Joe, do you have a good answer for that? I have one in my head, but I'll let you answer.
One in your head. For me, just I think it's just the peace of mind. I don't think there's an exact measurement that you can have. I think it's just something you just start to feel where you're not being bombarded all day long with different things. That if you decide to wake up on Friday morning and say, you know what, I'm not doing this today. I'm going to go walk the dog and hang out with my family. You get to do that now, and
Great.
I think that's when that's the measurement you have is that you don't have to be there, but you know when you have to be there.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're out, but it's you know when you can take that extra break and be present for the people who need it.
So the way I tend to measure the success is just what Joe did, is taking that 3-week unplugged vacation. I don't actually suggest that you take that 3-week vacation right off the bat. I mean, maybe start with a long weekend or a week or something like that. But that 3 weeks is the right amount of time, because that first week, I mean, I remember when I did mine, the first week, it took me until probably midweek, late that week, to stop dreaming about work.
Right.
And then then you get into the relaxed stage. And then near the end, you're kind of ready to come back and
I,
you got some ideas.
that's what I've learned. So for me, what I've learned with the break is that it can't be any less than 8 days.
Yeah.
8 days is the absolute minimum to where it's like, I'm okay with going back. At the 3 weeks, it was like, you're ready to come back, but you don't feel stressed about it.
Right.
You were just good with it. It's like, all right,
Because you know everything's still going to be okay when you get
right,
back, because you have
right,
it set up to do that. I
right.
think that that's really the first measure. Now, there are a whole bunch of others as you grow your business to be able to not have to do sales and marketing and finance and all that, but that's down the road. So the last question that I saw pop up, how long does it typically take to achieve significant results? Joe, what do you think?
I would say it probably took a good year
Mhm.
because we needed to document the stuff. We needed to test the documentation against the stuff where there's a lot of revisions. It's a lot of work. You did a lot of the heavy lifting, knowing the business to get it in there, but I still had to go through and make the edits.
Yep.
Um, and it took care of all the day-to-day stuff from that respect. And then there was, then there's still training. And then as we transitioned, people into the roles and stuff like that. So I would say it takes about a year to get significant results. You can hit little milestones in between to
Mhm.
where, like you were saying, you can take a short break, but get back to it because you're not done yet. You're not ready. Um, but I'd say it takes at least a year. And
I think
then,
that's a good assessment to feel like you've accomplished a lot. I can tell you within 6 months though, you should start feeling that low-hanging fruit, being
right,
off your plate, and you're starting to feel like, "Oh, I can spend time looking at these processes and dumping my brain out."
right.
Yeah.
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 You've got to not look at it. I look at it as work.
It is
If I
work.
could have, so if I could have changed something, here we go. If I could have changed something, I should have changed my mindset on that and looked at it as, if I get this done, I'll never have to do this again. Um, and that's the one thing I would have changed. And is the way I approached all the process change and things like that.
So I would say, I think you're right, but I'd also say Joe is saying that from the standpoint of having someone like Beth on his team there to constantly monitor the processes, making sure they're being followed properly, and there's accountability, and that when they need to be updated, that revisions are made. So
Mhm.
it doesn't end. Just like marketing, sales, finance, it doesn't end. Operations keeps going too, but to be able to be the one out of it, I think you get to a point where you feel that way. Well, Joe, I am so grateful that you agreed to join us here today.
I
Thank you for
appreciate
sharing your story.
it. You're welcome.
And y'all can look for the full story coming out later this year with our book.
Yeah, it's going to be
All right.
fun.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.